Chapter 8. William. The moment Royce Estelle drove away from Lucien's apartment, William rushed back to his home, practically sprinting down the stairs and slamming the door behind him. His pure hatred tasted sour in his throat, and he clutched at his shirt, bunching up the fabric and squeezing until his knuckles turned white as snow. It wasn't fair. Stelle didn't deserve to drive Lucien home, to sit with him and talk in the break room, and to call him Angel. The more William thought of Stelle and Lucien together, the more blinding his anger became, until he could hardly register his surroundings. Who was the one leaving Lucien gifts? William was, not Stelle, which was another point towards his devotion. He had seen the phone charm dangling from Lucien's cell, and his absolute ecstasy had been short-lived, all thanks to the unremarkable blonde. William had to remind himself that Lucien would never pick Stelle. He knew it. Stelle could try all he liked, but Lucien knew his worth. He struggled to his bed, collapsing on the mattress as he snatched Lucien's old shirt and hugged it to his chest. It still smelled of the cologne he had given him, and he closed his eyes to focus on the scent instead of his whirlwind thoughts. His precious memento helped a bit, but William still struggled to calm down. His thoughts were repeating phrases over and over like a mantra. He's mine, he's mine, he's mine. Even though he could never touch Lucien, he was still William's angel, and William loved him more than anyone else did. His mind blurred, a desperate yearning replacing his rage. If only he could feel him just once in his life. It was his prayer, overtaking all reason. But he was pathetic, dirty, monstrous, unfit to sully the pure white of Lucien Angel. Despite his hopeless reality, his fantasies still ran out of his grasp before he could catch them and shove them back down. With the smell of Lucien and the image of him imprinted behind his eyelids, William let his imagination freely guide him. He thought about Lucien's slender legs and how they would wrap around him so beautifully. And he thought of his full lips, the forbidden fruit he wanted to bite and taste. As he felt the growing heat between his legs, he quickly took one of the pillows and straddled it. He began to grind against it. The movement made him whine into Lucien's discarded shirt as he felt the delicious friction of fabric and lost himself in the delusion that it was the idol he was rubbing himself on. He would gladly take even that, just a thigh, clothed even, and Lucien would watch him and let him. Once he'd finished, he knew it was time to retire for the night. Without Lucien, why would he stay awake? The next few days passed by without an appearance from Stelle, and William was thrilled that he had Lucien all to himself. He had left gifts every night for him to find, and on the day before the concert, he had dared to do even more. Lucien Angel entered the break room and spotted what William had left for him. It was an enamel pin from one of Lucien's favorite shows, and attached to it was a note. He hadn't written much on it for fear of spilling too many of his thoughts, so all he had written was, "Break a leg." And William was rewarded with a small, private smile as Lucien put both the pin and the note in his pocket. The day of the concert, William made sure to dress well, which wasn't saying much, considering he was nothing compared to Lucien. His clothing options weren't exactly lush, but he tried his best to make sure he had at least looked presentable. His front row tickets had cost him a considerable amount of money, but when it came to seeing Lucien, no price was too high. It was an ideal concert order for him as well. Since Lucien Angel was the closing number, William could skip everything before that and head to his seat just in time to see Lucien come on stage. He spent the time waiting at a table near where they were selling merchandise. William had searched for anything related to Lucien, but there was nothing there he didn't already have, so he just sat on his phone until he heard the announcer say, "We're finally getting the last act for tonight, and it's a real treat." William didn't need to hear any more. He quickly slipped into the main area, found his seat, and watched as they set up the stage for Lucien. It happened to be one of William's favorite setups. Just a microphone on a stand and Lucien. His night only got better once Lucien was revealed, a bright stage light shining upon him, and William held his breath. Lucien was in all white, and the contrast of his scarlet hair was striking as it hung in his signature ponytail. His skin was covered in a subtle layer of silver glitter, so any time he moved it seemed as though he was glowing. He was, as always, the single most attractive person William had ever seen, and he resisted the urge to reach out, just to get as close as he could manage. When the music started, Lucien's hands rested on the microphone as his lips parted, and that flawless voice poured out into the crowd. William watched him so closely that he had almost forgotten to take his phone out to snap some pictures. As he fumbled for the device, he tried to keep his shaking hands steady. Through the camera lens, Lucien was immortalized, but it was nothing compared to the sight through his own eyes. It was like he had come straight down from heaven just to bless the inferior beings below. William thought about how lucky he was to live at the same time as Lucien Angel as he finished taking pictures, slipping the phone back into his pocket so he could spend the rest of the song gazing at Lucien uninterrupted. He swore that just for a split second, when Lucien's gaze swept over the crowd, their eyes connected. William knew Lucien couldn't see them with the bright lights on stage, but he let himself revel in the contact regardless. Once Lucien left the stage, William raced back home so he could print out the pictures he had taken, and the image of Lucien's gaze lulled him into one of the best nights of sleep he had ever gotten. But his good luck seemed to run out when the next day came. Lucien had come in halfway through the workday, since after a concert he liked to sleep in and arrive later. William watched him for the hours he worked, and all was well. Lucien went to the break room alone, gingerly sipping on a bottle of water as he busied himself with his phone, and after a while, it began to ring. "What's up, Mel?" William sighed in relief that the caller was Melanie and not Royce Estelle. "That's okay. Take your time. I'm just in the break room right now." William figured Melanie was going to be late to pick up Lucien, which suited him just fine. Lucien's brows bunched up for a moment, but the expression cleared as he chuckled lightly. "Stelle really told you about that? You know how people give me things sometimes. I honestly don't see the harm." William's mouth went dry. Stelle knew about the gifts, and apparently he'd told Melanie? It wouldn't be anything too suspicious. Lucien received gifts often from people trying to hit on him, so why was Stelle bringing it up this time? "Mel, someone just has a little crush on me. I'm telling you, I don't have a problem with having a secret admirer. I think it's sweet." William's cheeks burned at those words. Lucien thought he was sweet? After a pause, the singer relaxed, resting his elbows on the table. "Yeah, Stelle is just dramatic. You know how he is. If he brings it up again, just tell him to stop worrying so much. It's not good for him." William was still reeling from Lucien's compliment, and he let the tension in his body subside at Lucien's confirmation that he wasn't put off. On the contrary, he liked it. Melanie wasn't worried, and Stelle was being bothersome, which wasn't new. He was safe, and there was no way he was going to stop leaving gifts now that he knew how Lucien felt about them. As he followed Lucien home and watched him enter the elevator, his mind spun wildly with ideas. What should he leave Lucien tomorrow?